Final chapter for our health professions course gets into health education, and this was a fairly complex, detailed chapter up until some updates with the BLS in terms of the way they report this. So this was about four different professions. And now it's essentially been absorbed into the same one profession of health education. It used to be school health education was reported separately. It used to be that community health worker was a separate profession. This chapter also included orientation and mobility specialists. I'll get that into a little bit, but really, health education as one profession is the way that it is reported. So that's really the way that I'll go through this. So a couple things about the health educator profession. Um, the topics and the environments in which these individuals work vary considerably based on the education and needs. And so if a person is um, working for a community, if they're working in a school, if they are working in a number of different areas, that's going to really vary in terms of what their job responsibilities are going to be. So, school settings provide a lot of opportunities for involvement. Might be basic health education, might be more advanced work with a specific population. These are individuals that could work for state and local governments. They could work for nonprofits. They could work for private business. They could work for healthcare organizations, schools, colleges, universities. So there is some overlap. Those of you that have taken or will take health promotion, there's a tremendous amount of overlap here. So health educators could work in a lot of different areas that we've talked about in that course. Um, the typical health education process is listed in the text. Typically, they assess, plan, implement, and evaluate. Those that have taken health promotion, you're familiar with that. They also may manage various departments. They may serve various groups. They may educate in a variety of different ways. The goals for health educators vary considerably. Um, they may be focused on raising awareness. They may be focused on lowering employee health insurance costs. Again, we talked about that in health promotion. They may be an advocate for healthy lifestyles in the community. And so there's a video I included here. I want you to watch that. Gives you a sense of what a health educator might do. There's a lot of different job titles here. And so people that get into this line of work. They might be a health education teacher. They may be a patient educator where they're meeting with a person with a new diagnosis of diabetes and helping educate them in terms of what they might be. They might be a health coach. They might be a health program manager. So myself, with the background I had, I was a health promotion specialist. I was a wellness coordinator, and I was a health program manager. So this was my background. My master's degree is in health education, and so this is something that I've done before. Unfortunately, a lot of these titles, there's no regulation on this, so a person can call themselves this, but there's nobody stepping in and saying, "Hey, you can't be this or you can't do this." Okay. In terms of education, a lot of different routes to get into this. Typically, an individual is going to have a bachelor's degree, potentially in like an exercise related field, a public health field, something like that. Um, the most opportunity is going to be for an individual that gets a master's degree and gets the certified health education specialist or CHES certification. That is one that I used to have, and that is one that provides the most opportunity for a person to be in health education or worksite health promotion. And so that is probably the most direct route. There's a lot of different ways to be able to get there. There's many programs that provide health education background, and several that provide opportunities to sit for that CHES exam. Um, so here's where the difficult part comes in, and don't look at the numbers, because it used to be that the BLS site parsed out health educators and school health educators and community health workers, and those are separate professions. Um, Health educators now encompass all of that. So there was about 123,000 jobs as of 2018. The two largest employers were governments and hospitals, but now schools are included in that, communities are included in that, so that may not necessarily be as accurate. Okay. There is growth expected with about 11% growth from 2018 to 2028. That's faster than average. But one of the bigger issues continues to be the wages, especially if you look at someone with an undergraduate degree and a master's degree along with CHES certification. That wage is pretty low. So that is one of the biggest issues. The rest of the chapter then gets into the specifics about school health educators, and I did include that in the PowerPoint. You can look through some of the specifics of that. Community health workers, there's a little bit of detail there, um, but I won't go into that. You can look at that on your own. There's just a little bit of variation. The other part of this particular chapter, chapter 23, that they get into is the orientation and mobility specialists. That's some information you can look at, but what's changed is the orientation mobility specialist has been completely absorbed into occupational therapy. So it is no longer a separate profession in terms of the way the BLS site reports it. And so all the OT information applies to that orientation and mobility specialist job. Okay, so that's it for chapter 23. If you have any questions, refer to your book, the PowerPoint, or let me know if you have questions. Thanks.